You ever see an entire neighborhood's ego shrivel up overnight? Because that's what happened the day the Cedar Ridge fountains died. And I don't mean they just went a little weak. I mean bone dry, dust devil in the pond dead. That morning, the grand entrance, usually this smug Vegas-style display of jets and spotlights, looked like a cheap model home after the open house, all brittle grass and hissing pipes. Sprinklers wheezed nothing but air, and the so-called ornamental pond? Picture a salad bowl someone left out all summer. Yeah, that bad. So, you want to know how I ended up standing in the middle of that mess? A cop on one side and Patricia Clean, HOA president, local menace, and self-appointed queen of Cedar Ridge. On the other? Well, settle in, because this is one of those stories where the villain thinks she's the hero right up until the credits roll. Patty's got her hair all frizzed out from the humidity, yelling at a police sergeant like she's starring in her own reality show, claiming I shut off the community's water as revenge for her reporting my fish crime. The sergeant just gives her this look, slow blink, voice all flat. Ma'am, there's no such thing as a fish crime. That should have told her everything. Then Patty stabs a French manicured finger in my direction. That's me, Evan Rhodes. Quiet guy, sunglasses, standing by the little brick pump house just off the main drive, hands in my pockets, watching this circus with maybe a hint of a smirk. The HOA likes to call me that weird pond man. Can't say they're wrong. I give the sergeant a nod, real polite. Good morning, officer. Let me clear something up right now. I never touched their drinking water. Not once. All I did was shut down the supply for their precious fountains and sprinklers, the decorative water, as the paperwork calls it. Big difference, you know? Patty's screaming that I can't do this, that I don't control her water. I don't bother arguing. Instead, I unlock the steel door to the pump house, swing it open, and there it is, a control panel glowing with digital readouts clearly labeled. Cedar Ridge Estates HOA Irrigation and Fountain Supply. Ownership, Rhodes Utility LLC. That last part's got a brand new tag, just in case anyone missed it. The sergeant looks at the panel, then at me. Wait, you own their water? I shrug, keep it simple. They called the cops on me for moving my fish. Trespassed on my utility easement. Cut my locks. I warned them, certified mail, email, hand-delivered notices, the whole 9 yards. She ignored all of it. I point to the court order taped to the pump house door. I'm just following the judge's orders. You want to know who I am? I like 3 things: peace and quiet, water engineering, and fish. I work remote, infrastructure engineer. One of those people who gets weirdly excited about pipes, pressure valves, backup generators. My aunt left me this odd-shaped sliver of land wedged between Cedar Ridge and the Greenbelt. A forgotten utility lot with a groundwater well, a pump house, retention pond, and a snarl of buried lines feeding all the neighborhood's pretty water features. Back before Cedar Ridge existed, the developer struck a deal. Houses get city drinking water, but all the fountains and sprinklers get well water from this little patch. That utility lot came with a private water company, and now it was mine. I kept everything humming along, pipes, pumps, filters. The HOA paid a laughable legacy rate, and their lawns looked like Augusta National. Most folks never thought about it. Everyone was happy except Patty. She doesn't like when something near her neighborhood is outside her control. Patty loves rules, fonts, and the sound of her own voice saying community standards. Me. I pay my bills, keep my place tidy, and spend weekends tinkering with aquaculture. My latest project was a backyard recirculating pond. Fully permitted, inspected, notices posted like the county wanted. The overflow came from the retention pond, but everything was separate, legal, and above board. Patty saw fish, water, equipment, and immediately lost her mind. She delivers this letter to my mailbox, brimming with confidence. Unauthorized water feature, aquarium livestock. Dear Mr. Rhodes, she lists off my offenses, says the HOA has noted my unapproved pond and ornamental fish visible from the fence. I actually laughed. My property wasn't part of Cedar Ridge Estates, and my boundary line was older than her favorite shade of lipstick. So I wrote her back, I'm not in your HOA. My pond's legal, fully permitted. Please remove my address from your list. I figured that was it. Of course, for Patty, that was just the opening bell. Suddenly I'm getting courtesy notices about algae, potential mosquito habitat, unverified odors. She starts telling neighbors my pond is poisoning their water, that my koi are illegal, maybe even breaking federal laws. Meanwhile, I'm sitting on my porch listening to her walking tours along the fence. That's why our water tastes funny, He's dumping who knows what in there, probably terrorism. Yeah, that happened. When the gossip didn't stick, she escalated. Out comes the phone, filming through my fence, zooming in on pipes. She posts photos of my filtration system in the HOA Facebook group. Anyone know if this is safe? Looks like a homemade treatment plant. I start a folder on my laptop. Legal HOA nonsense. Screenshots, emails, everything. Then comes the fish move. One scorching Saturday, I'm transferring a few big koi from the retention pond to my new backyard setup. Net in one hand, fish bag in the other, when I hear it from the fence line. That's it. I'm calling the police. Patty's there, phone up, yelling, "You can't move livestock like that. That's illegal stalking. You're tampering with the HOA water supply. I'm reporting you for contamination, animal cruelty, and terrorism against the community." I just blink. Terrorism? But she's already dialing 911. I expect maybe one bored cop. Instead, thanks to Patty's flair for drama, I get 2 squad cars, a city environmental inspector, and a building code guy who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. They walk my property. I show them my permits, water test results, clear separation between my private pond and the HOA system. Their drinking water, I point out, comes from the municipal main, nothing to do with my well. The inspector laughs, tells Patty he's within code. Fish are legal. Setup's cleaner than most restaurants. Patty, realizing her glory is slipping, starts claiming I'm weaponizing water, threatening to shut down the community. She wasn't exactly wrong, but I kept that to myself. The code official sighs, tells Patty again that I'm not in the HOA and she's got no say here. Most folks would call it a day. Not Patty. A week later, I find my utility lock cut and replaced with a shiny HOA-branded padlock. There's an unauthorized access sign on my pump house fence, newsletter blasts about securing community water infrastructure. I'm standing there holding their newsletter, staring at a pump house I legally own, now decked out like an HOA clubhouse. I call the police non-emergency line. They tell me document everything. So I do. Then one evening, my motion camera pings. I watch Patty and 2 board members squeeze through my gate, cut my original lock, open the pump house, take pictures, and start tugging on a big red-tagged valve that clearly says, "Do not adjust, system calibrated." I don't confront them. I forward the footage to my lawyer, the county water department, the state utility commission. Hey, just FYI, my private utility parcel, contract 4478. Pretty sure the board just committed criminal tampering with regulated water infrastructure. You know what? Turns out tampering with utilities is not a misunderstanding. It's the kind of thing that makes state investigators put on their serious faces. Within days, I get a call from a state utility investigator. The county wants copies of my HOA contract. The sheriff opens a trespass and tampering case. When the investigator and deputy show up at the HOA clubhouse, Patty tries to bulldoze them, loud, confident, drowning them in HOA jargon. I wasn't tampering. I was inspecting community assets. Reports of unsafe fish activity. The investigator holds up a printout, her hand on the do not touch valve. This controls the irrigation line. You could have ruptured it or backflowed contaminants. The deputy reminds her, again, that my property isn't theirs. My lawyer slides a folder across the table. Given the harassment, trespass, and tampering, Roads Utility LLC is exercising its right to terminate service for noncompliance. Patty panics. You can't do that. It'll kill the community. My lawyer just grins. Your homes get city water. We're talking about your turf, fountains, and decorative nonsense. Your grass might die, but you'll be fine. The utility investigator says, and by the way, there'll be penalties for unauthorized meddling with a private utility. Suddenly, this isn't about fish. It's about law, money, and liability. The neighbors realize the board might have actually made the one guy keeping their grass green very, very angry. And that guy has all the paperwork. 2 weeks later, I send the formal notice. Service terminated in 30 days unless new contract terms are met. Full reimbursement for damages and legal fees, tamper alarms, triple market rate, non-interference agreement. Patty tries to play it off as negotiation theater. Then day 31 rolls around. Fountains sputter out mid-gurgle, pond level drops, sprinklers cough dust, lawns go crunchy. Cedar Ridge, which prided itself on resort-style landscaping, now looks like a failed golf course. Even worse, the HOA has to explain a special assessment. Legal fees from my lawsuit, state fines, emergency water hauler bills. At the next town hall, someone finally says what everyone's thinking. So you picked a fight with the guy who owns our water because you didn't like his fish? Patty tries to bluster. He was non-compliant. But another neighbor holds up a photo of her on my security cam, hand on the forbidden valve. This you, being compliant? No one's laughing with her anymore. They're laughing at her. Under pressure, the board folds. They accept my new contract, sign my non-interference agreement, so tight it squeaks, and publicly acknowledge that I, not the HOA, own the utility. I agree to turn the water back on one condition. A new metal sign on the pump house fence, big and shiny. When I flip the switch, fountains roar back to life, sprinklers hiss, and the HOA breathes a sigh of relief, until they see the sign. Cedar Ridge Estates Water Features and Irrigation, supplied by Roads Utility LLC. This facility is private property. HOA personnel are prohibited from entering, touching, or inspecting anything without written permission. Yes, this means you, Karen. I even added a cartoon koi with sunglasses, just for fun. The fallout is exactly what you'd expect. HOA dues spike, special assessments everywhere, ornamental upgrades postponed indefinitely. Patty runs for re-election with protecting our community's standards as her slogan, and loses in a landslide to a guy whose only promise is, never piss off the utility owner again. The new board sends me a written apology, rescinds all previous violation notices to non-members, and adds a bylaw. Any future HOA contact with outside utilities goes through a lawyer. Final tally? Patty owes $12,000 in legal fees. Her own board votes to make her pay for the tampering. The Utility Commission slaps her with another $8,000 fine. She's kicked off the board, banned for 5 years, and even her homeowner's insurance drops her for the conviction. Last I saw her, she was loading boxes into her car, face like old milk, while the fountains bubbled behind her, at triple the old rate. She never looked my way. $20,000. All because she couldn't mind her own water. So here's what I want to know, was justice really served, or did I just teach the HOA to fear the guy with the keys? Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done? Ever had a neighbor or an HOA try to bulldoze your boundaries? Let's hear your stories, because trust me, nothing makes a bully shrivel like a little sunshine, a little law, and a whole lot of receipts.